The spacecraft descended slowly through the thick, amber clouds of Zeta 7, its engines humming softly as it pierced the alien atmosphere. Inside the cabin, the human crew sat in tense silence, their eyes glued to the viewports. Below them stretched an unfamiliar landscape, a sprawling expanse of jagged crystalline structures and glowing rivers that shimmered like liquid gold under twin suns. For years, Earth scientists had speculated about life on Zeta 7, but no one could have imagined what they were about to encounter. Captain Ryan Hayes adjusted his seatbelt, his jaw tight with determination. He glanced at his team behind him. Emily Dawson, the linguist, was already scribbling notes furiously in her journal, her pen moving almost as fast as her mind. Beside her, Jack Miller fiddled with a wrench, his usual calm demeanor giving way to nervous energy. Across the aisle, biologist Olivia Scott stared out the window, her face pale but excited. And up front, Sam Carter, the pilot, kept his hand steady on the controls, guiding the ship toward a smooth landing. As the craft touched down on a wide metallic platform, the vibrations rattled through the hull. Outside, towering figures emerged from the shadows. They were unlike anything the humans had ever seen. Tall insectoid creatures with gleaming exoskeletons and multifaceted eyes that reflected the light of the suns. Their long limbs moved with precision, and their voices clicked and buzzed in a language that sounded more like static than speech. Ryan stepped out first, flanked by his team. The air smelled faintly metallic, and the ground beneath their boots felt unnaturally smooth. The tallest of the aliens stepped forward, his presence commanding. His name, translated roughly by their handheld devices, was Calzor. His voice crackled through the translator, each word dripping with disdain. "You are small," Calzor said, tilting his head as if studying insects himself. "Fragile. Why do you come here?" Ryan straightened, trying to project confidence despite the overwhelming size difference. "We're explorers," he replied evenly. "We seek knowledge, cooperation, and understanding." Calzor's mandibles twitched, a gesture the humans would later learn meant amusement. Cooperation, with beings who cannot even cross their own skies without aid. He turned to his companions, clicking rapidly. Whatever he said made them click back in laughter, their bodies swaying slightly. Emily clenched her fists, frustration bubbling inside her. She hated being underestimated. But before she could say anything, Jack spoke up. "Mock all you want," he said, his tone sharp. "But we've traveled farther than you think." Calzor stopped laughing and fixed Jack with a cold stare. "Distance means nothing without purpose. Tell me, fragile ones, what purpose do you serve?" Before Ryan could respond, Emily stepped forward, holding up her device. "We're here to learn," she said firmly, "and maybe teach something in return." This time, Calzor didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned closer, his massive frame casting a shadow over the group. "Teach? You?" His voice grew colder. "Your kind is young. Your history, chaotic. We have evolved beyond such trivialities." Olivia shifted uncomfortably, glancing at Ryan. The tension in the air was palpable. But despite the insult, Emily refused to back down. "History shapes us," she countered. "Even yours." For a moment, Calzor seemed taken aback. Then, with a dismissive wave of his clawed hand, he turned away. "Come," he said. "See our city. Perhaps then you will understand why your words mean nothing." As the humans followed the towering aliens across the platform, they couldn't help but feel like intruders in a world far beyond their comprehension. Yet, amidst the alien architecture and strange customs, Emily noticed something odd, carvings etched into the walls of the nearby structures, symbols that looked eerily familiar. She slowed her pace, staring at one set of markings. Her heart raced. Could it be? Before she could examine it further, Jack nudged her. "Keep moving," he whispered. "We don't want to piss them off." Reluctantly, Emily tore her gaze away and hurried after the group. But deep down, she knew she had seen something important. something that might change everything. The humans were led through the sprawling city of the Vraxians, their footsteps echoing on the smooth metallic streets. Towering spires rose around them, their surfaces shimmering with shifting colors that seemed alive. The air buzzed faintly, filled with the clicking and chirping sounds of the insectoid aliens going about their daily lives. To the humans, it felt like walking through a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. Kaldor walked ahead, his long strides forcing the group to hurry to keep up. Occasionally, he would pause to gesture at one of the massive structures or murmur something to his companions in their rapid-fire language. Each time, the translator device struggled to make sense of his words, offering only fragmented phrases like evolution's peak or primitive folly. It was clear the Vraxians saw themselves as superior beings, far removed from the likes of humanity. As they moved deeper into the city, Emily couldn't help but notice more of the strange carvings she had spotted earlier. They were everywhere, etched into walls, engraved on pillars, even embedded into the ground beneath their feet. At first glance, they appeared abstract, random patterns designed for decoration. But Emily's trained eye caught something else. The symbols weren't just decorative. They told a story, and some of them looked disturbingly familiar. "Do you see this?" she whispered to Olivia, pointing discreetly at a series of markings on a nearby wall. Olivia squinted, tilting her head. "Looks like lines and dots. What am I supposed to be seeing?" "It's not just lines and dots," Emily replied, her voice low but excited. "These are cuneiform-like characters, ancient writing. From Earth." Olivia frowned. "You're saying these aliens use symbols that look like Sumerian script? That can't be a coincidence." "I don't think it is," Emily said. She pulled out her notebook and quickly sketched a few of the symbols, comparing them to notes she'd taken during her studies back on Earth. The resemblance was uncanny. Her mind raced. Could the Vraxians have somehow encountered human culture in the distant past? Or was there another explanation? Jack overheard their conversation and rolled his eyes. "Great, so now we're rewriting history too. First contact isn't enough. You've got to go digging for conspiracies." "It's not a conspiracy," Emily shot back. "It's evidence. Look at it." Ryan intervened before the argument could escalate. "We're guests here," he reminded them quietly. "Let's focus on staying calm and gathering information." Despite his warning, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she was onto something big. Every step they took revealed more carvings, each one adding pieces to the puzzle. By the time Kaldor stopped near a grand plaza dominated by a towering statue, Emily's notebook was half filled with sketches and observations. "This is our center of progress," Kaldor announced, gesturing toward the statue. It depicted a Vraxian figure holding what looked like a glowing orb, its surface covered in intricate designs. "Here, we honor those who elevated us beyond chaos." Emily stepped closer, studying the base of the statue. Sure enough, more symbols adorned it. This time, they formed a pattern she recognized instantly. A constellation map. Her breath caught in her throat. Not only did these markings resemble Earth's ancient languages, but they also referenced celestial events known to early astronomers. "Constellations," she muttered under her breath. "They know about constellations. What does that mean?" Olivia asked, leaning in. "It means..." Emily hesitated, unsure how to explain without sounding crazy. "It means they might share some kind of connection with Earth. Maybe even an origin." Before she could elaborate, Kaldor turned sharply, his multifaceted eyes locking onto her. "You stare too much," he said, his tone sharp. "What do you find so fascinating?" Caught off guard, Emily froze. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Ryan stepped forward, placing himself between Emily and the towering alien. "She's a scholar," he explained smoothly. "She admires your artistry." Kaldor clicked his mandibles, clearly unconvinced. But instead of pressing further, he simply waved a clawed hand. "Come, there is more to show you." As the group followed him once again, Emily exchanged a glance with Ryan. His expression was unreadable, but she knew he understood the significance of what she'd found. Somewhere within these alien ruins lay answers, not just about the Vraxians, but about humanity itself. And Emily was determined to uncover them, no matter the cost. The tour of the Vraxian city continued, but Emily's mind was elsewhere. She kept glancing at the carvings on walls and structures, her thoughts racing faster than her feet could carry her. The symbols were everywhere, etched into towering spires, carved into stone benches, even woven into the glowing patterns that pulsed along the streets. Each one seemed to whisper secrets from a time long forgotten. To the Vraxians, they might have been nothing more than decorations, relics of a distant past. But to Emily, they were clues. As Kalzor led the group toward another massive building, a domed structure that shimmered like liquid silver, Emily slowed her pace. She lingered near a pillar adorned with intricate markings, pretending to adjust her bag while secretly snapping photos with her handheld device. Jack noticed and sighed loudly. "You're going to get us kicked out," he muttered under his breath. "Or worse." "I'm not doing anything wrong," Emily replied without looking up. "I'm just observing." "Observing too much," Jack shot back. "We're here to learn about them, not dig up their history." "And what if their history is connected to ours?" Emily countered, finally meeting his gaze. Her voice was firm but quiet, so as not to draw attention. "What if these symbols aren't just random? What if they mean something important?" Before Jack could respond, Ryan stepped in. "Enough," he said sharply. "Both of you. We need to stay focused." Reluctantly, Emily rejoined the group, though her mind remained preoccupied. Inside the domed building, the air felt cooler, almost electric. The walls were lined with holographic displays, showing images of stars, planets, and strange geometric shapes. Kalzor gestured vaguely at the exhibits, his translator device offering fragmented phrases like celestial order and ancestral wisdom. "This place honors our journey," Kalzor explained, his tone dripping with pride. "From chaos to clarity. From ignorance to enlightenment." Emily nodded politely, but her eyes were drawn to a large circular panel on the floor. It was covered in symbols. Symbols she recognized. They weren't identical to Earth's ancient scripts, but they were close enough to send a shiver down her spine. She knelt down, pretending to tie her bootlace, and traced her fingers lightly over the markings. They were worn smooth, as if touched by countless hands over centuries. "What are you doing?" Olivia whispered, crouching beside her. "Looking for patterns," Emily replied softly. "These symbols, they're part of a language, the very old language." Olivia frowned. "But why would an alien civilization use something that looks so much like Sumerian cuneiform?" "That's what I'm trying to figure out," Emily said. She glanced around cautiously, making sure no Vraxians were watching them too closely. Then she pulled out her notebook and began sketching the symbols, adding notes in the margins. "If I can decode this, maybe we'll understand why they look familiar." Sam wandered over, his curiosity piqued. "You really think there's a connection between these aliens and Earth?" "I don't know yet," Emily admitted, "but I think it's worth finding out." Their conversation was interrupted when Kalzor approached, his clicking steps echoing in the vast chamber. "You seem fascinated by our records," he said, his multifaceted eyes gleaming. There was a hint of suspicion in his voice. Emily stood quickly, brushing off her knees. "I'm just interested in your culture," she said, forcing a smile. "Your ancestors were clearly advanced. These symbols must hold great meaning." Kalzor tilted his head, studying her carefully. For a moment, it seemed like he might challenge her further. Instead, he clicked his mandibles and turned away. "Our ancestors achieved greatness," he said, "but their ways are obsolete. We have moved beyond such primitive things." Emily bit her tongue, resisting the urge to argue. Primitive or not, these symbols were far from meaningless. She could feel it in her bones. As the group followed Kalzor out of the dome, Emily made a mental note of the location. She'd need to return later, alone, if necessary. Back outside, The twin suns were beginning to set, casting long shadows across the city. The golden rivers glowed brighter, reflecting the fading light. Despite the beauty surrounding them, tension hung heavy in the air. The humans exchanged uneasy glances, each lost in their own thoughts. Ryan broke the silence. "We've seen enough for today," he said. "Let's head back to the ship and regroup." As they walked, Emily couldn't stop thinking about the symbols. If the Vraxians had truly abandoned their ancestral language, then why were the markings still everywhere? And why did they resemble Earth's ancient scripts so closely? Whatever answers lay hidden in those ruins, Emily was determined to uncover them, even if it meant risking everything. Back on their ship, the humans gathered in the cramped common area, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the overhead lights. The mood was tense but charged with quiet excitement. Emily spread her notebook across the table, flipping through pages filled with sketches and notes. Her hands moved quickly as she pointed out patterns in the symbols they had seen earlier. "These aren't random," she said, her voice steady despite the weight of her discovery. "They're part of a system, a language, and it's connected to Earth." Jack leaned back in his chair, arms crossed. "You keep saying that, but how? Just because some squiggles look like Sumerian doesn't mean there's a link. Maybe it's just coincidence." "It's not coincidence," Emily insisted. She tapped one of the sketches. "Look at this sequence. It matches an ancient prayer found in Mesopotamia. And this one, this is a map of constellations visible from Earth thousands of years ago." Olivia frowned, leaning closer. "But why would aliens use something so similar to our own history? Are you saying they visited Earth?" "Not necessarily," Ryan interjected. He rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "But there could be another explanation. What if both civilizations got these symbols from somewhere else? Like a shared origin?" Sam nodded slowly. "That makes sense. If some advanced race traveled between planets, spreading knowledge or culture, it could explain the similarities." Emily's eyes lit up. "Exactly. These carvings might be leftovers from that time. A connection we didn't even know existed." The room fell silent as the implication sank in. If Emily was right, then humanity wasn't alone in its history or its destiny. But proving it wouldn't be easy, especially with Calazor and his people watching their every move. "We need more evidence," Ryan said finally. "Something concrete. Otherwise, we're just guessing." Emily nodded. "I think I know where to look. That domed building. It had panels covered in those symbols. If I can study them longer, I might be able to piece together what they mean." Ryan hesitated. "Going back without permission is risky. Calazor already seems suspicious of us." "I'll go," Emily said firmly. "Alone. I can say I'm exploring the city if anyone asks." "No way," Jack snapped. "You're not going out there by yourself. What if something happens?" "She won't be alone," Olivia chimed in. "I'll go with her. 2 people are less likely to draw attention than a whole group." After a brief debate, Ryan reluctantly agreed, though he made them promise to stay in constant communication. Armed with flashlights, notebooks, and a small handheld scanner, Emily and Olivia slipped out of the ship under the cover of darkness. The twin suns had set completely, leaving the alien city bathed in the eerie glow of its golden rivers and glowing structures. The streets were eerily quiet, the clicking hum of the Vraxians replaced by an almost unnatural stillness. Emily led the way, her heart pounding as she navigated toward the domed building. When they reached it, she paused, scanning the area for any signs of movement. Seeing none, she pushed open the heavy door and stepped inside. The interior was dimly lit, the holographic displays casting faint, shifting colors across the walls. Emily moved straight to the circular panel on the floor, crouching down to examine it more closely. She ran her fingers over the worn symbols, her mind racing as she compared them to her notes. "This is incredible," she whispered. "These aren't just records. They're instructions. Look at this sequence here." She pointed to a series of markings. "It's describing a ritual. something about aligning stars and honoring ancestors. Olivia knelt beside her, peering at the panel. Do you think the Vraxians still follow it? Emily shook her head. I don't think so. Kalzor made it clear they see their past as primitive. But maybe we can use this to show them we understand their history. Before Olivia could respond, a sharp click echoed through the chamber. Both women froze, their breath catching in their throats. Slowly, they turned to see a pair of Vraxians standing in the doorway, their multifaceted eyes gleaming in the low light. One of them raised a clawed hand, gesturing for them to stand. You should not be here, came the translated voice, cold and stern. Emily swallowed hard, clutching her notebook tightly. For a moment, fear gripped her, but then she remembered why she had come. Taking a deep breath, she stood and faced the aliens. We're here to learn, she said, her voice trembling but resolute. And maybe, to help you remember something you've forgotten. The two Vraxians advanced slowly, their clawed feet clicking against the smooth floor. Emily's heart raced, but she forced herself to stay calm. She glanced at Olivia, who looked pale but nodded subtly, a silent agreement to stand their ground. The taller of the two aliens tilted his head, studying them with an unreadable expression. You trespass, the alien said through the translator, his voice sharp. This place is sacred. Emily took a step forward, holding up her hands in a gesture of peace. We didn't mean any harm, she said carefully. We're just trying to understand your history. These symbols, they're important. To you and maybe to us too. The second Vraxian clicked his mandibles, exchanging a quick glance with his companion. Then he turned back to Emily. You speak of things you do not comprehend, he said. Our ancestors left behind relics of their ignorance. We have moved beyond such things. But they're not just relics. Emily pressed on, her voice gaining strength. They're part of who you are, who we all might be. She pointed at the circular panel on the floor. These symbols, they're like ones from my world, ancient writings that tell stories of creation, unity, and stars. The first Vraxian paused, his glowing eyes narrowing. Your world, he repeated. Explain. Olivia stepped forward now, her voice steady despite the tension. On Earth, there are old languages, scripts carved into stone thousands of years ago. They talk about the same ideas as these symbols here. Constellations, rituals, even prayers. It's almost like someone shared this knowledge long ago. The two aliens exchanged another look, this one filled with uncertainty. For a moment, no one spoke. Then the taller one gestured toward the panel. Show us. Emily knelt down again, her hands trembling slightly as she traced the markings with her fingers. She began explaining what she had deciphered so far, pointing out patterns and connections. As she spoke, she noticed something unexpected. The Vraxians seemed intrigued. Their earlier hostility softened, replaced by curiosity. These signs, the second alien said after a long pause. They honor the first speakers, those who brought order to chaos. The first speakers, Emily echoed, her pulse quickening. Who were they? The aliens hesitated before answering. Finally, the taller one spoke. Travelers from the stars. They came to many worlds, teaching civilizations how to rise above savagery. But time erases all things, even memory. Emily exchanged a glance with Olivia. This was it, the missing piece. If the Vraxians' ancestors had been taught by these travelers, then perhaps Earth's ancient cultures had been influenced by them too. The connection between their worlds wasn't just possible, it was undeniable. We think we can help you remember, Emily said softly. Not just for you, but for everyone, including us. The Vraxians stood silently, their bodies swaying slightly as if deep in thought. Then the taller one raised a clawed hand, signaling for them to follow. Without another word, he led them out of the dome and into the quiet streets of the city. Emily and Olivia exchanged nervous glances but obeyed, trailing behind the towering figures. They arrived at a grand hall near the center of the city, its entrance flanked by statues of Vraxian warriors. Inside, Calzor awaited them, surrounded by other leaders. His multifaceted eyes locked onto Emily the moment she entered. "Why have you brought them here?" he demanded, his tone icy. "They claim to know of the first speakers," the taller alien replied, "and of our forgotten tongue." Calzor's mandibles twitched, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. He turned to Emily, his gaze piercing. "Prove it." Emily swallowed hard, clutching her notebook tightly. She took a deep breath and recited a phrase she had pieced together from the carvings, a chant praising unity among stars. Her voice wavered at first, but as she continued, the room grew still. Every eye in the chamber was fixed on her. When she finished, there was a long silence. Then one of the Vraxian leaders whispered something in their language, his tone reverent. Calzor's expression shifted from skepticism to astonishment. For the first time since their arrival, the human saw respect in his eyes. "You speak truth," Calzor said finally. "But why does this matter to you?" Emily met his gaze without flinching. "Because understanding each other is the first step toward unity. And unity changes everything." The grand hall fell silent after Emily's words, the weight of her statement hanging in the air like a fragile thread. Calzor stared at her, his multifaceted eyes reflecting a mix of awe and suspicion. The other Vraxian leaders murmured among themselves, their clicking voices rising and falling in waves. It was clear they were unsettled by what they had just heard, and by the realization that these small, seemingly insignificant humans might hold a key to their forgotten past. Finally, Calzor stepped forward, his towering frame casting a shadow over Emily. "You speak our ancestors' words," he said slowly, his tone measured. "But how? How do you know what we have lost?" Emily hesitated, glancing briefly at Olivia before answering. "On Earth, there are ancient texts, writings left behind by people who lived thousands of years ago. These writings talk about stars, creation, and unity. They're similar to your symbols because maybe they came from the same source." "The first speakers," one of the Vraxian leaders whispered, his voice tinged with reverence. "They brought this knowledge to many worlds." Calzor turned sharply to the speaker. Silence. He snapped. Then, softer, almost as if speaking to himself, he added, "If this is true, then we have been blind. We cast aside our heritage, thinking it weakness, but perhaps it was strength." Emily seized the moment. "It doesn't have to stay lost," she said earnestly. "We can work together to rediscover what you've forgotten and share what we've learned. That's why we're here. Not to take or harm, but to connect." For a long moment, no one spoke. The Vraxians exchanged uneasy glances, their bodies swaying slightly as they processed the implications. Finally, Calzor nodded once. "Very well," he said. "You will be allowed to study our ruins further, but under strict supervision. If you prove yourselves trustworthy, we may consider more." Relief washed over Emily, and she nodded quickly. "Thank you. You won't regret this." As the meeting ended, the humans were escorted back to their ship by a group of Vraxians. Once inside, they gathered around the table again, their faces flushed with excitement and exhaustion. "That was insane," Jack muttered, shaking his head. "I can't believe you pulled that off." "I didn't pull anything off," Emily replied. "The truth did. All I did was show them something they'd forgotten." Ryan leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. "This changes everything. If we can help them reconnect with their history, it could open doors we never imagined. But not everyone's going to like it," Sam pointed out. "Did you see the looks on some of those Vraxians' faces? They're not all happy about this." Olivia nodded. "Change scares people, especially when it challenges what they believe about themselves." "Then we need to be careful," Ryan said firmly. "We've got one chance to make this work. Let's not blow it." Over the next few days, the humans worked closely with a small group of Vraxians, including Tirana, a young scholar who seemed particularly eager to learn. Together, they explored more ruins, piecing together fragments of the ancient language. Each discovery deepened their understanding of the first speakers, a mysterious race that had traveled the stars, leaving behind wisdom and culture wherever they went. Through their efforts, Emily began to see glimpses of a shared story between Earth and Zeta-7. Carvings described celestial alignments revered by both civilizations, while others hinted at rituals meant to honor unity across worlds. Slowly, the humans earned the trust of their alien counterparts, forging bonds that transcended their differences. But not everyone was pleased. Among the Vraxians, dissent brewed. Some, led by Vorax, a rival leader, argued that allying with humans weakened their society. "We do not need their help," Vorax declared during a heated gathering. "They are outsiders, primitive, and unworthy." Kelzor stood firm against him. "Their presence has reminded us of who we once were, who we can still become. Would you deny us that?" The tension between the factions grew, threatening to unravel the fragile progress the humans had made. Yet even as shadows loomed, Emily remained hopeful. She knew the path ahead wouldn't be easy, but she also knew that sometimes the hardest journeys lead to the brightest destinations. The tension on Zeta-7 was growing thicker with each passing day. Vorax and his followers had become increasingly vocal, their hostility toward the humans spilling into public debates. They accused Kelzor of weakness, claiming that allowing outsiders to meddle in Vraxian affairs would only bring shame to their people. The once unified city now felt divided, its streets buzzing with whispered arguments and uneasy glances. Emily noticed the change immediately. When she and Terena worked at the ruins, they were often followed by suspicious Vraxians who watched their every move. Some even muttered insults under their breath, though they dared not confront the humans directly. Not yet, at least. Despite the rising unease, Emily pressed on, determined to prove that their collaboration could benefit both species. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, the humans gathered in their ship for a private meeting. Ryan paced the room, his brow furrowed with worry. "We can't ignore what's happening out there," he said. "Vorax is gaining support. If this keeps up, it could turn violent." Jack nodded grimly. "He's already calling us invaders. It won't take much for him to rally enough people to act." "We need to show them we're not a threat," Olivia suggested. "Maybe if we share more of what we've discovered, something big, it'll remind everyone why we're here." Emily looked up from her notes, her eyes lighting up. "That's it," she said. "There's one carving I haven't fully decoded yet. It's in the oldest part of the ruins, a massive stone tablet covered in symbols. If I can finish translating it, it might reveal something huge, something that proves how connected our worlds really are." Ryan hesitated. Going back to the ruins alone is too risky now, not with Vorax stirring things up. "I'll go with her," Terena offered, stepping into the room. Her voice was soft but firm. "I trust Emily, and I believe in what we're doing." The group exchanged glances, unsure whether involving a Vraxian ally was wise, but Emily smiled gratefully. "Thank you," she said. "With your help, we can get this done faster, and maybe avoid drawing attention." Early the next morning, Emily and Terena slipped out of the city, heading toward the ancient ruins on the outskirts. The air was cool and still, the golden rivers glowing faintly in the Pradon light. As they worked together at the base of the massive stone tablet, Emily felt a sense of hope she hadn't felt in days. Piece by piece, the symbols began to make sense. "It's a story," Emily murmured, her pencil flying across her notebook, "about the first speakers, how they came to Earth and Zeta-7, bringing knowledge and unity. They didn't just teach, they inspired." Terena clicked softly, her tone reverent. "This changes everything. If others see this, they'll understand why working with you matters." But their moment of triumph was short-lived. Before they could finish, a shadow fell over them. Turning quickly, they saw Vorax and a group of his followers approaching, their sharp claws glinting in the dim light. Vorax's mandibles twitched with anger. "You dare desecrate our sacred ground," he snarled. "Leave this place, or face the consequences." Emily stood, holding her notebook protectively. "We're not desecrating anything. We're uncovering the truth. The first speakers brought wisdom to both our worlds. Denying that won't change history." Vorax stepped closer, towering over her. "Your lies will not divide us further. You are no teacher. You are an intruder." Before tensions could escalate, Tirena stepped between them. "Enough," she said sharply. "You dishonor yourself with these accusations. Emily seeks only to restore what has been lost. Would you cast aside our ancestors' legacy because of fear?" Vorax sneered. "And you disgrace yourself by siding with them. Mark my words, this ends now." With that, he turned and stormed off, his followers trailing behind him. Emily exhaled shakily, her hands trembling as she clutched her notes. Tirena placed a reassuring claw on her shoulder. "Do not let him scare you. He cannot stop what is meant to be." Back at the city, news of the confrontation spread quickly. Kelzor summoned the humans to a grand assembly hall, where dozens of Vraxians had gathered. Vorax stood at the center, loudly accusing the humans of manipulation and deceit. The room buzzed with anger and uncertainty. When it was Emily's turn to speak, she stepped forward, her heart pounding. Holding up her notebook, she recited the final passage she had translated, a message of unity and shared purpose. As her voice echoed through the chamber, the crowd fell silent. Even Vorax seemed shaken. "This is our shared heritage," Emily concluded. "Not yours or mine, but ours. Together, we can honor it." For a moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, whispers of agreement began to ripple through the crowd. Kelzor raised a clawed hand, signaling for calm. "Let this be a new beginning," he declared, "for all of us." The Grand Assembly Hall buzzed with a mix of emotions as Emily finished speaking. Her words hung in the air, heavy but hopeful. For a moment, it seemed like the entire city was holding its breath. Kelzor stood tall, his multifaceted eyes scanning the crowd. Slowly, he raised a clawed hand, and the murmurs faded into silence. "This is not an easy truth to accept," Kelzor said, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "For generations, we have believed ourselves above our past. But today, we are reminded of who we once were and who we can still become." Tirena stepped forward, her presence calm yet commanding. "The humans did not come to mock us or steal from us. They came to share, to reconnect. Are we so proud that we would turn away from such a gift?" Her words struck a chord. Some Vraxians nodded in agreement, while others exchanged uneasy glances. Vorax remained silent, his mandibles twitching with barely contained anger. Though he had lost this battle, his followers still lingered nearby, their loyalty evident in their stiff postures and narrowed eyes. Kelzor turned to Emily, his expression softening. "You have given us much to consider. We will work together to restore what has been lost and honor the first speakers. But know this, trust must be earned, not demanded." Emily nodded, relief washing over her. "Thank you," she said simply. "We're ready to help however we can." Over the next few days, the humans and Vraxians began collaborating in earnest. Teams of scholars and scientists worked side by side, sifting through ruins and deciphering ancient texts. The shared effort brought a sense of unity that neither group had expected. Tirena proved to be an invaluable ally, bridging gaps between cultures and helping both sides understand each other better. As they delved deeper into the artifacts, new discoveries emerged. One particularly significant find was a set of star charts etched into a series of stone tablets. These charts depicted constellations visible from both Earth and Zeta 7, along with annotations describing celestial events tied to rituals of unity. It became clear that the first speakers had used these alignments to guide their teachings, leaving behind a universal language written in the stars. Olivia marveled at the implications. This isn't just about history. she said during one late-night discussion aboard the ship. It's proof that life across the galaxy is connected, that maybe we're all part of something bigger. Jack, who had initially been skeptical, now found himself intrigued. Yeah, well, I didn't sign up for cosmic poetry, he muttered, though there was no real bite in his tone. But if this helps keep us alive, I'm all for it. Despite the progress, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Vorax and his faction continued to oppose the alliance, spreading rumors and sowing doubt among the population. Ryan grew increasingly concerned. We can't let them undermine everything we've built, he told Emily one evening. If they act, we need to be prepared. Emily frowned. Prepared for what? A fight. That's exactly what they want. Chaos. Our best defense is showing how much we've achieved together. Ryan sighed. I hope you're right. Meanwhile, Tirana confided in Emily about the growing unrest within her own ranks. Vorax fears change, she explained. He sees cooperation as weakness. But fear often leads to reckless actions. Sure enough, trouble came sooner than anyone expected. One night, as the humans returned to their ship after a long day of work, they noticed strange movements near the ruins. Shadows darted between the glowing structures, and faint clicks echoed through the darkness. Jack tightened his grip on a flashlight. Something's not right. Before they could investigate further, a loud crash erupted from the direction of the main excavation site. Rushing toward the sound, they found Vorax and his followers vandalizing the area, smashing tablets and scattering fragments of stone across the ground. You think you can rewrite our history? Vorax spat, his voice dripping with venom. Then I'll make sure there's nothing left to rewrite. Without hesitation, Emily stepped forward. Stop, she shouted. Destroying this won't protect your pride. It'll erase everything that makes you who you are. For a moment, Vorax hesitated. Then, with a snarl, he signaled for his group to retreat. As they disappeared into the shadows, Emily knelt beside the damaged artifacts, her heart sinking. But even in the face of destruction, she refused to give up. Turning to the others, she said firmly, "We rebuild. Together." And so, under the glow of the twin suns, humans and Vraxians worked side by side once again, piecing together fragments of the past and forging a future rooted in unity. Though challenges lay ahead, the bonds they had formed were stronger than any fear or division. The attack on the excavation site sent shockwaves through both the human team and the Vraxian community. Vorax's actions had crossed a line, and even those who had once supported him began to question his motives. Calzor wasted no time addressing the incident. He called an emergency gathering in the Grand Hall, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd like a blade. What happened last night was not just an act of vandalism, Calzor declared, his tone sharp with anger. It was an attack on our shared future. Vorax, you have dishonored us all. Vorax stood defiantly at the edge of the chamber, his followers clustered behind him. I did what was necessary, he snapped. These humans corrupt our culture. They twist our history to suit their needs. Emily stepped forward, her hands trembling but her voice steady. We're not twisting anything. We're uncovering the truth, your truth. The first speakers brought unity to both our worlds. Denying that won't change the facts. Vorax sneered. Your words mean nothing. You are outsiders, fragile, unworthy. Before Emily could respond, Tirana moved to stand beside her. Enough of this hatred, she said firmly. You accuse them of corruption, yet it is you who spreads fear and division. Look around you, Vorax. Do you see how many agree with your views, or do you see silence? The room fell quiet as everyone turned to look at Vorax. His followers shifted uncomfortably, some avoiding eye contact altogether. For the first time, cracks appeared in his confidence. Calzor seized the moment. This ends now, he said, raising a clawed hand. Vorax, you will be stripped of your rank and exiled from the city until you prove yourself worthy of trust. Any who follow him must choose, to leave or to stay and work toward unity. The tension in the room was palpable. One by one, Several of Vorax's followers stepped away, leaving him isolated. With a final glare, Vorax stormed out of the hall, his footsteps echoing angrily as he disappeared into the shadows. In the days that followed, the humans and fractions redoubled their efforts to restore what had been damaged. Working together, they carefully pieced together fragments of shattered tablets and reconstructed damaged carvings. It was painstaking work, but it also strengthened the bonds between the two groups. Each repaired artifact became a symbol of resilience, a testament to their determination to move forward. Emily found herself spending more time with Tirana, who had become not just an ally but a friend. As they worked side by side, Tirana shared stories of her own struggles within Vraxian society. "Change is hard for us," she admitted. "We value strength above all else. But sometimes strength comes from understanding, not force." Emily nodded. "I think we're learning that lesson too. Back on Earth, we've spent so much time divided by borders, beliefs, fear. Being here, it makes me realize how much we lose when we focus on differences instead of connections." Their collaboration soon bore fruit. Using the restored star charts and inscriptions, the team uncovered a ritual described in intricate detail. It involved aligning specific constellations with ceremonial chants written in the ancient language. According to the texts, performing the ritual would honor the first speakers and reaffirm unity among those who participated. Kelzor agreed to organize the ceremony, inviting both humans and Vraxians to take part. On the chosen night, the twin suns set early, leaving the sky awash with stars. The glowing rivers reflected the celestial display, creating an ethereal atmosphere. Gathered in the heart of the city, the two species stood side by side, their differences overshadowed by a shared purpose. As Emily recited the chant in the ancient tongue, her voice carried over the crowd. The Vraxians joined in, their clicks and hums blending seamlessly with the melody. Together, they traced the constellations in the sky, connecting dots of light that spanned galaxies. When the ritual ended, there was a profound sense of peace. Even those who had doubted the alliance seemed moved by the experience. Calzor approached Emily, his expression softer than ever before. "You have shown us who we truly are," he said. "Not just Vraxians or humans, but keepers of a legacy far greater than ourselves." For the first time since arriving on Zeta 7, Emily felt a glimmer of hope, not just for their mission, but for the possibility of bridging worlds across the stars. The days following the ritual marked a turning point on Zeta 7. The once divided city now hummed with a new energy, its streets alive with collaboration and curiosity. Humans and Vraxians worked side by side, piecing together fragments of their shared history and forging connections that transcended language and culture. The tension that had lingered for so long began to fade, replaced by a fragile but growing sense of unity. Emily stood near the edge of the glowing river one evening, her notebook in hand. She watched as Tirana helped a group of young Vraxians practice pronouncing phrases in the ancient tongue. Their laughter echoed across the water, blending with the soft clicks and hums of the insectoid voices. It was a sound Emily never thought she'd hear, one of joy, not hostility. Ryan approached, his boots crunching softly against the smooth ground. "You've done something incredible here," he said, his tone warm but tinged with pride. "I don't think anyone expected this when we first landed." Emily smiled faintly, though her gaze remained fixed on the horizon. "It wasn't just me. Everyone played a part. The team, the Vraxians who chose to trust us, even Calzor. This isn't my victory. It's ours." Ryan nodded. "Still, you were the one who saw the potential in those symbols. You reminded them of who they are." Before Emily could respond, Sam called out from the ship. "Time to go, everyone. We've got a schedule to keep." The humans gathered their belongings, saying goodbye to the friends they had made over the weeks. Tirana stepped forward, her multifaceted eyes gleaming with emotion. "Will you return?" she asked, her voice soft. "If we can," Emily replied. "There's still so much more to learn, to share, Tirana clicked softly, a gesture of gratitude. Then we will wait. Until then, take this. She handed Emily a small stone etched with familiar symbols, a reminder of what we have begun. As the humans boarded their ship, Kelzor appeared at the edge of the platform. He raised a clawed hand in farewell, his expression unreadable but respectful. The engines roared to life, lifting the craft into the amber sky. Below, the golden rivers shimmered like liquid light, reflecting the twin suns one last time before fading into the distance. Back aboard the ship, the team sat in silence, each lost in their thoughts. Jack broke the quiet first. Well, that was unexpected. Olivia chuckled softly. In a good way, though. I mean, we came here thinking we'd be lucky to survive. Instead, we might have changed an entire civilization. And maybe ours too, Ryan added. If word gets back to Earth about this, about how connected we all are, it could change everything. Emily leaned back in her seat, clutching the stone Tirana had given her. Her mind raced with possibilities. The journey home would take months, but she already knew how she wanted to spend the time. Documenting every detail of their discoveries, ensuring nothing was lost or forgotten. These stories weren't just for Earth, they were for the future. When the ship finally entered Earth's orbit, news of their success spread quickly. Governments, scientists, and ordinary people alike marveled at the tale of unity between two vastly different species. Emily's findings sparked debates, inspired research, and reignited interest in humanity's ancient past. For the first time in years, Earth looked outward, not with fear or greed, but with hope. As she stood before a crowd of reporters, Emily felt a surge of determination. "This isn't the end," she said firmly. "It's just the beginning. If we can bridge worlds separated by stars, imagine what else is possible. All it takes is understanding and the courage to listen." Later that night, alone in her room, Emily held the stone up to the light. Its carvings glimmered softly, a silent testament to the bond they had forged. Somewhere far away, on a planet bathed in twin suns, others looked to the stars with the same hope. Together, they had proven that even in the vastness of space, no one was truly alone.